Thank you for purchasing Cedar Valley Handy Panels. This video will cover the basic types of installation to help you install your new panels. Before you start, let's go over the tools you will need. You will need a hammer, a saw, a caulk, a caulking gun, a tape measure, a level, a 1-inch stainless steel or staples or brad nails, and most importantly, safety glasses. Additionally, on some projects you might need a chop saw, a chalk line, stain, and a carpenter's square. Today, we will cover a couple of basic installations on the Cedar Valley Handy Panels. If your installation involves something not covered in this video, please call us at the factory and we will gladly help you. Here, we are installing handy panels on the exterior of a home. Standard building codes will apply because this siding is considered lap siding by the Uniform Building Code standards. The basic rules of thumb are: panels must be 6 inches above the ground or 1 inch above roofs and decks. Panels are nailed a maximum of 16 inches on center into the wall studs or 1/2 inch plywood shear. A code-approved moisture barrier is required directly behind handy panels. Proper flashing of the corners, windows, and doors is required. Make sure the wall is clean and clear. Remove any obstructions that would keep the handy panels from laying flat against the wall. Remove old siding. We have read the installation instructions from the box, so let's put on our safety glasses and get started. First, we make sure the wall is prepared for new siding. The wall must have a code-approved moisture barrier, sometimes called house wrap. If you tore off old siding, replace the old house wrap as well. On this area, we are installing in a gable. Cedar Valley also offers pre-made shingle corners, if you like. In all cases, the corners and trim must be installed first. That's because the handy panels are butted directly to all trim. We install the starter strip horizontally and the handy panel will sit right on top of it. Make sure it's level and tack it in place where you want the bottom of the first row to land. If you have a chalk line or string level, you can use that as a guide to install the starter horizontally. So we will use our 4 installation steps for the instructions: measure, cut, caulk, nail. First, we measure the distance and mark it on our handy panel. Then, we cut a handy panel to that measurement. You can check the fit before you caulk. When we are sure the piece fits tightly, we'll use our caulk gun to put a 1/4 inch bead where the cut edge of the plywood backer sits against the trim. If your piece is too short, set it aside. There will be other places you can utilize it. Set the panel in place tightly against the caulk trim piece and nail properly. Note, we are blind nailing the handy panels. The best way to ensure this is to keep the nail right at 2 inches from the very top of the handy panel, so the next row of panels should cover the nail heads. Start 1 inch in from each edge. Space your nails no more than 16 inches apart. The handy panel kit comes with an 8D ring shank siding nail that is painted a cedar brown color. If you need to fasten lower on the panel, make sure to use these painted nails. Now, as you move across the wall, you will see that the overlapping end joints on the full handy panels provide a seamless appearance. Here's how the ends go together. Don't forget, 1 inch in from each edge and a maximum distance of 16 inches apart. So if your piece is 20 inches wide, you'll need 3 nails. Continue to the opposite corner and save the unused end of the last panel as a starter piece for the next row. That's the basics. You have just installed your first handy panel. Continue up the wall until you are complete. Now, let's look at some other areas and how to properly install handy panels. Around windows, cut the panels to fit tightly. Under and over windows, you will have to cut the handy panel horizontally. As you measure and cut for these areas, be careful. Long cuts like these are the hardest to make. Sometimes securing a guide to the panel will give you a perfectly straight cut. So my piece is cut, but now the shingles may be loose. Cutting horizontally means the glue line at the bottom or the staple line at the top are gone. We want to refasten whichever part of the shingle that is loose to the plywood backer. I suggest a stainless steel 1-inch brad nail or a staple to hold these loose ends to the plywood backer. If installing in the gables or dormers of your house, the diagonal cuts made at the intersection of the roof are treated the same way as window cuts. Corners. If your project involves corners, Cedar Valley makes a matching 90-degree outside corner for you. If you use our corners, start each row by installing the corner first, level the corner, then place one nail 1/2 inch from each edge. Once nailed, lightly caulk the plywood edge, trim a handy panel square, and butt the handy panel tightly to the corner piece. Nail as before. When we have a run between a corner and a piece of trim, just measure, cut to fit, check the fit, caulk, and nail like before. As you work through your handy panel boxes, you may have some pieces without factory end joints on either side. Areas like these are a great place to utilize your cut pieces of handy panel. So there you have the basics of a handy panel installation. Some final things to remember are: check with your building department on any project before starting. A building permit may be required. A code-approved moisture barrier is needed directly behind handy panel siding. Handy panels are not approved for roofing. Playhouses, sheds, and gazebos are exempt from this rule. If you have any installation questions, please call us at the factory and ask for a technical rep. We are happy to talk with you about the suitability and use of our handy panel siding for your project. Thanks again for your purchase of Cedar Valley's handy panel siding. Enjoy your project.